Welcome YouTubers. Today we're going to be looking at a really fantastic track by Orville Peck called Roses Are Falling. I got into Orville Peck a couple of years ago. I listened to Orville Peck a couple of years ago. It didn't really grab me at first. It was almost like something wasn't grabbing me, but I revisited his album Pony quite recently, and I just fell in love with that sound. I'm a really big Marty Robbins fan. I've listened to a bit of Gene Pitney over the years. And of course, Johnny Cash and all that stuff. So the sound of that album in particular to me, and actually a lot of Orville Peck stuff, is really reminiscent of that. So I was very excited to bring this track to the channel. I know it's not the typical rockabilly stuff that we do, but I do feel it's very much adjacent. However, if you are new to the channel, there's something like 500 videos on my channel of various lessons to do, mainly with rockabilly, a little bit of swing, a little bit of blues, and now we're going to be touching on, I guess, what's this, glam cowboy? I should probably have bought the Falcon or the Phoenix for this lesson with that glitter, or worn a bit of a mask, which would have been probably better off for you guys anyway. But I just decided to stick with getting the job done. So here we go. We're going to launch into the tutorial. I'll bring the camera forward so you can see my hands nice and clearly. If you are a member of the Patreon, you will get these transcriptions. I'll just give you a quick sneak peek. So that's one of them's the slide part. That's the slide part, and that's the other guitar part. So you've got that all fully transcribed. And I'll also provide the backing tracks on my Patreon as well. If you aren't a member of the Patreon, you can actually purchase that post. So you can access the post for a couple dollars. I'll put the link below, and that will allow you to access the PDFs and all the goodies. All right, let's get to work. Oh, and I should add, make sure you've got your slide with you. That's something else that's quite new for my channel. I don't think I've ever done a tutorial involving slides, so grab your slide. I'm going to walk you through a few things. I'm not an amazing slide player, but I can get around the thing. Okay, so we're going to start with the slide part. I'm going to give you some tips as if you are a beginner, because this is a fairly simple piece of music. Simple in theory, but it wasn't easy to execute the little recordings for this. I might talk about that at the end. Now, if you don't want to play slide, just use your finger and slide up and down, and it's really great fun. So I will discuss the frets, and of course, if you're a member of the Patreon, you can grab the transcription, or if you want, you can go purchase that post for a couple dollars. So for this, I actually used it on my pinky. Okay, I find that comfortable because I can get as many fingers behind the slide as possible. So that's one of the elements that you kind of want. Oh, I just bumped my hat on the microphone. That's one of the elements that you want happening. Is where we're actually playing that note, our fingers behind generally want to be touching the strings behind the slide so we don't get the hum of the noise behind the slide. So now the other thing you're going to need to get used to is how much pressure to put down. And remember that we're holding the slide over the actual fret, not behind the fret like when we fret traditionally. So in this, we started on the 8th fret, just like that. So if you press really hard, it'll sound a bit, you'll get a sort of a steely, clangy noise. If you're too light, it'll sound like rubbish. So getting that touch is actually really essential. But this is a great place to start. Have your fingers behind the slide, touching the strings behind the slide, as I mentioned before. I palm mute, but then I'm obviously not palm muting the string that I'm playing. So I'm muting all the strings I don't need. I even like to rest a finger on strings above the strings I'm using. So if I'm playing the 2nd string, I'm actually holding the 1st string with my finger there so it doesn't make any noise as I slide up and down. And the side of my thumb can also rest on strings below. Okay, when I say below, I mean in terms of depth. So I would call the 3rd string below the 2nd string. So my thumb is actually resting on the 3rd string. I'm picking the 2nd string, and my 2nd finger is muting the 1st string. So we get a really clear, definitive 1-string sound. So we're picking the 8th fret, right over the fret, slide to the 10, slide to the 12, and then pick again as you hit the 13. So now the strings get a little higher on most guitars as they approach the 12th fret, and then they kind of might lower again depending on the bow of your neck. So you may need to just press a little firmer as you reach up the neck. If there's parts where the strings are higher, you'll squeeze a little harder. As they get lower, you need to be really light so you're not touching the steel frets and getting that horrible sound. So that's the very first bit. Obviously bar 1, 2, and 3 on your transcription. Okay. Try and sing out the notes so you get them accurate. Okay, then from here, we pick the 13. We're on the 13. We're over the 13th fret, I should say. And we drop back to the 12th fret. Then we get this. So I'll just play the next bit. It goes to 8. Okay, and that's the first riff. That whole riff repeats. So what I did there, 13, 12, 10. I pick it again, up, slide to 12, back to 10 without picking, and then slide back to the 8. Okay? I've got to stop bumping the microphone with my cap. All right, so that's your first line. That's bars 1 through to 5, and then it repeats at the end of bar 5 into bar 6. Okay? It just repeats. Whoop. And now it changes. So we start to see where it changes at the end of bar 9 on the transcription. It goes like this. And again, it's a slightly different feel on the third string. Every guitar is going to be different. Oh. I'm making that up. There's a part that I'm hearing in my head. So those next few notes from the 7 to 9, 5 to 2. Then up to 7, play the 2. Then hit the 7 twice. 9, 7. Then 5, 7, 9, 12. Okay, that was all without picking. And then pick it. Or you can just bring it to the 2 and pick it. And then slide up to the 4. All right, let me play that for you. And go back and look at after I play it, it'll make sense. I'll just play that bit from here. So if you're finding this difficult, open this video again in another tab and have that tab playthrough that I've put at the start visible. Because then you can see and hear and connect everything, and then you can hear me talking through what's happening, so you get that info as well. Okay, so that's the entire intro. Now we're going to switch to just playing the chords that were actually in that intro, by the way. So you can choose. You could be doing the slide part, or you might want to play these chords. These are cowboy chords to the max here, and that's actually another reason I chose this song, because there's a lot of challenging content on my channel. I wanted a few more songs that were just a little bit less challenging. Okay, so if you happen to... we're basically done with the slide part because, okay, the part that I just taught you is exactly the same, except at the very, very end, the little outro, or tiny little end lick, I will show you at the end. So the chords through that intro, and by the way, I don't have a tremolo pedal, believe it or not. So I have a Mystery Brain echo pedal, which has sort of like a chorusy tremolo effect on the delay. So let's hear that. It was off. I had to turn it on. Okay, and that gives it a really, something similar to the tune. So all we're doing, if you're playing the chords, a C chord, which I'm sure you're familiar with, 3, 2, 0, 1 from the 5th string. All right, give it a strum. Now, all you have to do let's attack those first 4 chords. All you have to do after the C chord, here's the C, here's the A minor 7. Just lift up your 3rd finger. Make sure your finger's nice and tall. Okay, now when you play an F chord, you don't have to bar right across. That definitely makes it harder, and then squishing those 2 strings is really quite challenging. If you like, you can go third finger on the 5th string on the C here, pinky on the F, okay, or which is the 3rd fret of the D string, 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the G string, and 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the 1st string. This is the easiest way probably to play this chord. Don't even worry about barring that 1st string if you struggle. Okay, just like that. Okay. And what I'm showing you here is that the next chord is a G, and you can just take that shape and move it up. If you want, you can even use your thumb and do that. And of course, if you're experienced, just play an F and a G. No problem. So that's what's happening on the... So that was everything right up until, what would that have been? Bar 10. Now you're playing E minor chord. Now, if you've got the ability, play the E minor as a bar chord up here from the A string. Okay. Or you can play it open, an open E minor. Lovely sound either way. In the song, I can hear the electric guitar is playing the E minor here. So I put that on the transcription, but feel free to grab an open E minor. So this next passage, I'll play the whole passage and then we'll continue through. Then A minor, which I believe would have been here as a bar chord, but we can do, see these fingers? Just slide them all the way to here. Okay, and I wouldn't normally teach you to do an A minor like that, but hey, it works. And you can just slide your fingers down. Okay, then it went to a D chord. Okay, now we can just go to an E chord here. We'll come back to that. And then it goes to C, then D, then F, then G. Right, so I showed you the E minor where we slide it back to here. And then I mentioned that the next chord, or the E minor to the A minor. And then the next chord after that, A minor, was a D, which a D chord, this is about as simple as it can get, really. So 2nd finger on the A, on the 2nd fret, 3rd string. I like to put the 2nd finger down when I'm demonstrating this, probably here first on the 1st string. So it's like the claws of a hammer, and the 3rd finger is the nail, which goes right in the middle on the 2nd string, 3rd fret. Make sure when you practice your chords, you're putting them all down at the same time, though. I mean, if you've got a little bit of delay, you might get away with this and this, but if you're doing 1, 2, 3, you're just not going to get there in time. So try to practice placing them all down at the same time, obviously. So we got to that D chord, and then when we went to the E major, what I was going to tell you is that if you want, you can slide that D up 2 frets and just play from the 3rd string. So we get cut off the strings though. Okay, and that's one way we can do the D to the E. And then the next chord was C, and then D again. Okay, and then F, which you can use the one from before. The easiest F you could play would actually just be F, A, and C like that. Don't even worry about the 3rd finger and the pinky. But I like that sound, and I would encourage you to try and do it. It's a little bit thicker. And then we stop on the G. And so this part here is a layer of the intro. I've basically given you 2 versions of the intro. So now I'm going to grab the acoustic guitar and we're going to do that really nice acoustic picked line. Okay, so for this part, the bit we're going to be learning Okay, sometimes you slow it down and you don't play it right. So this bit here, we make the frame of a C chord, and then what you do is when you pick the 4th string, which by the way on your transcription, this is happening from bar 18. So we pick the 5th string, then we pick the 4th string, but we lift up that 2nd finger inside the C chord and we hammer it down. Then we play the 3rd string, then we pick the 3rd string again and we hammer the 2nd finger. Sorry, we put our second finger down, so we get this. Pick the third string, then, so it's open now, then move your second finger across to the second fret on the third string, then pick it again and lift your finger back up. Then we play the second fret on the fourth string again, so we need to put it back. Sorry, originally when I played this, I thought that was a hammer-on, so I almost went to express that as a hammer-on, but it's not. That's a hammer-on. Then we hit the third string open. Then we play the second fret on the third string by moving that over, the second finger over. Then we play it open, and then we play that second fret, just like that. Then we just lift up that third finger, and we're playing the A minor 7. And we pick 5th string, 4th string, 3rd string. But this time we do pick that string and we hammer the third finger down. Watch this. Then we play it open. Then we play that second string. So, okay, really simple but really cool. So don't hammer this string for this one. All right, one more time. Here we go. You can also just move the second finger. It's probably a little nicer if you hold that there and use your third, but either's going to work. From here, you really need to use that shape I mentioned before, and you don't need to do the two string squeeze with the first finger because we don't hit the first string. But we need that shape because we need the note here. I guess you could go. It just doesn't sound as good. So practice that. If you need to get the thumb under here or whatever, you'll notice that experienced guitar players seem to have bad habits, but it's just as you get comfortable and know what you can do, you'll find your own way. I can keep my thumb there, and all those notes ring very cleanly. That's playing guitar for 30 years. Okay, so and teaching for 20 and gigging for 25. So. Mind you can do that. You don't need to be doing that much guitar playing to be able to get that. You just have to practice that for a little while. Now the last part. So I've actually overcomplicated that. We don't need to do two lots of hammer-ons. So let me explain. We pick the 6th string. We hammer the open to the 2nd fret, like that. Open 4th string. Then we move the 2nd finger over to the 2nd fret of the 4th string. Then lift your finger and pick it again. Then put your 2nd finger back on the 5th string, like that. And that's it, and it returns back to C and repeats. Now I remember when I was driving to the studio today, I remember hearing one time where he went, okay, and what he did there, instead of playing this one, he played that one, and he went 3 on the 4th string, 2 on the 3rd string, 1 on the 2nd string, open 1st string, okay? Just like that. And then nice little variation. So we're nearly there, folks. That's nearly everything you need to know in the song, because the chorus is everything you did in the A or main riff. I've put it as riff A, and then main riff and chorus is the same thing. I've actually listed it as A again on the transcription. So the only other part is that kind of little power chord bit. So I'll grab the electric again and I'll show you that. I've never used so many guitars for one tutorial, by the way. So here we go, the very last bit. We don't need echo for this. You definitely don't, because it'll be too sloppy and slappy. We want it to be a little tighter. So this section here, should be marked C on the transcription, but I just noticed I've marked it as B. So I've got A, riff A, B verse 1, which is the... And then for the pre-chorus, wisely, I have B once again, so I will fix that on the transcription. So what we're doing here, we're playing like a C chord, but we're just hitting the 5th string and the 4th string. And then the beautiful thing is you just lift up your 3rd finger, and that's our A5. And then F5, 1st fret on the 6th string, 3rd fret on the 5th string. I was thinking because the C is the 5th degree of F, and that's why we call it a 5 chord. Okay, that's where 5 chords come from, because we're using the 1st note and the 5th note relatively from that root note. So that's an F5, then G5. And I think you might even do that little walk up. I think I also spied that before, so I may add that on the transcription, but you don't have to do it. So easiest way, yeah, no, I think I'm imagining things. It's just the F5, move it up 2 frets to a G5. Do it again. And stop on that note. And then we're back to the chorus. So at that point, you'd probably just be going, wow, 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 and going through that entire riff with that whole chord thing that we went through before. Okay, so we continue on. Do, 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 do. Oh, sorry, I just meant to go to D. Do, 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 do. C. Da, da, do, do, then G. And now we get our end riff. Let me pick up the slide. It's on the music stand, which makes perfect sense. So our very end lick, we've come off the... We've finished that riff as we know it. And we go 8, 10, 17, and 12. It's the riff from Sleepwalk, which is really cool. Not sure how deliberate that was, but I suspect it was very deliberate because it's, I think Orville Peck is very deliberate with his music, and that's one of the things that I really like, especially going through a phase where I was listening to a lot of jazz and bebop and working on that stuff, and then hearing this. Sometimes that's a amazing contrast. Okay, so I know the microphone's a little bit annoying and sort of gets in the way of my face, but hopefully you could hear the guitar clearly the whole time, and it does work nicely because it doesn't pick up too much echo. This brick wall is actually very echoey, which might have worked for some of the recordings in this song, for some of the vibe. Thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this lesson. Don't forget, you can contribute to the Patreon and help out. I also have some courses on my Adrian Whyte online platform, and all of my PDFs are also there as well, so there's a library option. So we're going to look at making some changes to that. It's probably a little bit expensive given the world right now, so we're going to take a look at that. But of course, if you just want to help out, jump on the Patreon. But of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave some comments below, and go listen to some more Orville Peck. And thanks for watching. I will see you guys in the next video.